going to use my social studies teacher. I've got the disapproving, like, baritone on lock. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, who here has been to a rally with me before? You know that's insufficient. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
That's much better, thank you. Good morning to all here in Washington, D.C., to those of you joining us online, and to those of you who participated in events all across the nation last evening. My name is Reggie Hubbard, and it's my honor to welcome you here to Capitol Hill on the Senate side, adjacent to Constitution Avenue, which is pretty fitting, wouldn't you agree?
Whenever you're ready.
It's my honor to be here today, not only representing MoveOn, but our coalition partners, too numerous to name, but greatly appreciated for the tremendous, diligent, determined, passionate advocacy and organizing that has brought us to this moment. Thank you all for your leadership. The impeachment inquiry began in earnest about 83 days ago, and it surely seems we've been around the world in 80 days, right?
Yeah.
Last night, over 200,000 people came out to 600 events across the nation. Most of the nation was under a severe winter weather watch. A friend of mine texted me a video of her parents in Clear Lake, Illinois, which was about 15 degrees below zero, had 100 people. We had marquee events in New York, Denver, Chicago, and Los Angeles, as well as places like Kalispell, Montana, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Utica, New York, and Red Oak, Iowa, the home of Senator Joni Ernst. So red and blue places, we've had impeachment energy. We're here today to honor the work done by so many to bring some measure of accountability to this president. And whether you came here 2 years ago, 2 weeks ago, or 2 days ago, what matters is that you're here now. And we're in this moment together. And as you may have noticed, there are no elected officials here. And I have great respect for our elected leaders, but today isn't about them. It's about us. It's about we the people. In a matter of hours, the House of Representatives will bring articles of impeachment against President Trump for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. We the people thank those who will vote in favor of these articles of impeachment. We the people demand that other members of Congress who until now seem more beholden to loyalty to the president uphold their oath of office and protect our democracy. I stand before you now as MoveOn's congressional liaison and DC strategist, but in a town enamored of titles, I also stand before you with a more important and more underrated title, and that's of concerned citizen. We are here to highlight the amazing organizing that has taken us to get here, to honor the organizing and community building that took place last night, and to get ready for the organizing that is required for us to move forward from this moment. And many want you to believe that this is solely a partisan endeavor or that the president has been unfairly treated in this process. Child, please. And in all candor, this moment is bigger than Congress. It's bigger than the president. This is about the Constitution. And the revolutionary ideal that no one is above the law, especially the President of the United States. We will hear from grassroots leaders, veterans, constitutional and national security experts, and various other parts of the broad coalition that support impeachment. And we may not agree on everything, but it's a democracy, and that's okay. But the one thing we all agree on, and are here to celebrate and fight for, is that we believe that our democracy is at risk, and we must come together to do something about it. On this solemn, historic day, may we be remembered as the group of citizens that stood together at this critical time, giving birth to a renaissance in our democracy and our republic. It is now my honor to introduce one of the most steadfast, foundational partners in the impeachment moment, Natalie Arreola, Executive Director of Need to Impeach.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What a beautiful day. Sad day for our country, but a beautiful day for our democracy. Today, we are here knowing that many people said that today would never be possible because the politics would never be right. But for many of the people here, this has never been about the politics. This has always been about the American people and about protecting the democracy that allows us to live freely as Americans in this nation. When we look back, we will remember this vote, and it will forever remind us of the need to fight to protect our Constitution relentlessly. Now, Donald Trump is the fourth president to face impeachment, and the evidence against him for abusing power and obstructing Congress is not in question. What is in question is members of Congress's commitment to upholding their oaths. The reality of having a U.S. president face impeachment is regrettable. But today we must remember that in 2018, voters like you took to the polls wanting Donald Trump to be held accountable. And they have wondered ever since when and how will Congress act to protect us and future generations from the results of this reckless, lawless, and dangerous precedent. Yesterday, we saw hundreds of thousands of people marching across all 50 states representing 60 communities. And they stood up and loudly said that nobody, not even the President of the United States, is above the law. And they represent the majority of Americans who believe he should be impeached and removed. Now it's time for Congress to do their job and uphold their oath of office and do their constitutional duty. Now, as the executive director of Need to Impeach, we have over 8.5 million supporters who for over 2 years have been fighting with you to support an impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, and most importantly, to ensure that their members of Congress come to Capitol Hill and represent their values and not the political interests of the DC punditry or establishment.
Do your job!
Now, Need to Impeach today will distribute these mirrors like these, to members of the House and the Senate. Senators like Mitch McConnell, Martha McSally, Cory Gardner, Joni Ernst, and Susan Collins. And soon they will have to look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, how corrupt is too corrupt for me? We will not tolerate a president who abuses their power and obstructs Congress. Not voting for impeachment and not moving to convict will be a betrayal to our Constitution, and Americans will hold them accountable. Now let me be clear. Those who vote no on impeachment today are prioritizing short-term political gains at the cost of long-lasting damage to our country. The American people have spoken, and they are watching closely to see how Congress will act. Today will be remembered as the day the People's House stood up and said no one is above the law. We will protect our Constitution, and we need to impeach and remove Donald Trump from office. Thank you.
Would like to welcome next to the stage Leah Greenberg, co-executive director of Indivisible.
Hi, everyone. Hello. So we've reached a moment in our democracy, in our history, when it's really important to just state facts out loud and to follow those facts where they take us. So I'm going to try right now to state some facts out loud about why we're here today. Louder. Is this okay?
Come forward.
Come forward. I'm
You speak loud.
I am speaking into the mic. I'll do my best. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try right now to state some facts about why we're here today.
Facts matter.
Facts do matter. We're here today because the President of the United States pushed a foreign ally to interfere in a domestic election. Because he held back military aid that had been allocated by Congress for Ukraine. because he got on the phone with the Prime Minister of Ukraine, and when the Prime Minister asked about that military aid, asked him to do us a favor and investigate a domestic political rival. Facts. Because he and his cronies repeatedly pushed Ukraine to launch this sham investigation. And because when caught, when he was facing accountability, he repeatedly obstructed justice and attempted to prevent witnesses from cooperating with this investigation. Now, on one level, this is all shocking, right? This is the President of the United States doing these things. But on another level, it's not shocking at all. We know this man. We have known him, who he is, for a really long time. Indivisible groups around the country have known who he is for a long time. They have been fighting to have him held accountable for a long time. He obstructs justice. He threatens witnesses. He surrounds himself with cronies who enable and further his law-breaking. He spews bigotry and separates families. He undermines our national security and standing in the world for his own corrupt aims. He's taken the awesome powers and responsibilities of the president and used them to serve his own personal interests. That is the fact. Now, it's a tragedy for our country that we're here today. But we are standing here today proud, and because we know that we are in the right. We know that we're standing for the American people. We know that we are standing for justice. We know that we're standing for the future of our democracy. We're here to stand with Congress to make sure they do their job and hold this administration accountable. And then we're here to demand a fair trial in the Senate because the American people deserve nothing less than the facts, and then they deserve action.
Thank you, Leah, for sharing those facts with us. Appreciate that. Would like to welcome to the stage now Elizabeth Wydra, the president of the Constitutional Accountability Center.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Wydra, and I'm president of the Constitutional Accountability Center. And that's why we're all here today, right? Constitutional accountability. Make no mistake, this moment today is a constitutional moment for the ages. We can never forget what binds us all together. Yes, Republicans, Democrats, independents alike, and that is the Constitution. Our founding charter that we the people over time have amended again and again to try to create that more perfect union, to make our democracy more inclusive, more equal, more free. And it is crucial to remember and to remind the person in the White House and the people behind us that impeachment is part of the Constitution. It is in there for a reason. It is in there because the drafters of the Constitution, the founders of our nation, knew that there might be a time for our nation to come together and use a serious, solemn remedy for serious abuses of power. And that is what we have. President Trump is now going to be only the third president in American history to be impeached. It is a sad and sobering reality that he has brought our nation to this moment of reckoning. And make no mistake, this is a moment of reckoning. History has its eyes on the people behind us in this building. The nation has its eyes on the people behind us in this building. Will they live up to their oath to defend the Constitution? So, I'm a constitutional lawyer, and I think a lot about what the drafters of the Constitution, both in the 18th century, but also throughout history, thought when they were putting words in that document. And it's true that the drafters of the Constitution could not have specifically imagined a President Donald J. Trump in all of his details, but someone like him was in fact their actual worst nightmare. They were terrified when they drafted the Constitution of corruption. They knew that corruption was what brought down republics in history. And they were terrified that a president would use foreign corruption, specifically. They were terrified that the person to whom they entrusted the most powerful office, our national security, would use that great power and abuse it. And this president has done. They were terrified that the person who was entrusted to take care that our laws are faithfully executed would consider himself eventually above the law. And this president has done. They were terrified that a president would use foreign powers to enrich himself personally, financially, and this president has done. Over and over and over. They were terrified that a person would gain the office of the presidency and then once there, use that great power to ensure that he stayed there. Not because of the votes of the people, not because of the ballot box, which is our routine check on politicians. They were terrified that a president would get into office corruptly and then corruptly and potentially using foreign powers, use that to stay in his office against the will of the people. And this, we are terrified, this president will do. President Trump is the founder's worst nightmare.
Not my president.
And as a constitutional lawyer, as someone who really genuinely loves this document and wants to make real its promises every day, man, I am so proud that there are people in the House of Representatives who are standing up for our constitutional democracy. This is a great day for the Constitution, even though it is a solemn day. But this is a day where there are people doing their jobs and standing up for the Constitution. So the question I have is, who will stand up for the Constitution in the Senate? The evidence is clear. The Constitution is clear. And it is clear that we need to have a robust, transparent, meaningful trial in the Senate. The Constitution demands it. We, the people, demand it. And we are all here demanding it today, and I am proud to raise my voice with you and defend the Constitution and ask that our leaders behind us do no less. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the civics lesson. Appreciate that. We'd like to welcome to the stage now Neera Tandon, President and CEO of Center for American Progress Action Fund.
Good morning, everyone. It is my profound honor to be with so many people. I will speak directly into this mic to do that. It is a great honor to be with all of you this morning on this very solemn day. I want to share with you how I approach this day. I am the daughter of immigrants. My parents, give it up for the immigrants. My parents came here in the 1950s, my father in the 50s, my mother in the 60s. They came from a country, India, a nascent democracy that often teeters on the edge because of its corruption. They came to this country, and their most seminal moment as immigrants, as young parents, was the Nixon impeachment. They saw a country willing to essentially use its constitution to uphold the rule of law against a lawless president. And they believed that democracy works for all. That is the simple principle that makes our country actually great. It is that no one is above the law. It is that this Constitution applies to everyone, from you and me to the President of the United States. And when he breaks the law affects him. The law punishes him. The law finds him accountable. Today, the president is accused of crimes as an abuse of power. The Judiciary Committee report lays out essentially attempted bribery, wire fraud, a whole series of abuses of power. If the country, if the Congress does not act, we are inviting Donald Trump to commit crimes from here on in. We face an election in a year, it's true, but the reality is that if he goes unpunished, he will try to do what he tried to do 2 days after the Mueller report. Ensure a foreign government helps him win his election by essentially extorting them. These are dark times. We face a president who is lawless, but what I am hopeful about is that members of Congress, many of whom are new, members of Congress, many of whom have never run for office before. They've served their country as veterans, as prosecutors, as teachers, but their service in Congress is their first political service. And those people are rising up, even when they face GOP attack ads, even when they face attacks from Trump himself. They are rising up to protect our Constitution. And what I say to all of us is that it is vital that we stay in this fight with them. They are getting the back of the Constitution, and it's important that we get their back too. It is vital that we defend them from attack, and it is vital that we say to our senators, you swore an oath to the Constitution, and you will swear an oath to be an impartial justice. And when you choose to do the bidding of your political leader, Donald Trump, instead of this Constitution, you betray the Constitution and you betray this country. You betray your oath. You lie to all of us. And there will be consequences in history, but we will remind them of it every single day. It is my great honor to be in this fight with you for the Constitution. As I've said, we will be judged by history. Our grandchildren will ask us where we stood on this day. On this day. Where did we stand on this day? I stand with you in the Constitution and our democracy, and I look forward to fighting with you for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Neera. Neera talked a lot about, let me put this up because that, yeah, there we go. Neera talked a lot about oath of office. So not only, it's not just a partisan issue, we have some veteran voices here today to talk about upholding their oath of service and members of Congress doing the same. Would like to welcome Naveed Shah from Common Defense.
Good morning. My name is Naveed Shah. I'm a U.S. Army veteran and I served in Iraq. I'm here today. Thank you. I'm here today to speak on behalf of 130,000 members of Common Defense, a national grassroots progressive veterans organization, and we're committed to fighting to uphold the American values that which led us to serve in uniform in the first place. Over the last few weeks, our veterans have come together from local events in their communities, from Portland to Kalamazoo to Syracuse to New Orleans, and all the way back here to D.C. to see our representatives in Congress. All over this country, our veterans have come together to defend our democracy and demand our elected officials hold this president accountable for abusing his power. We have served honorably, and many of us have fought, and many of my friends have bled on foreign battlefields around the world. When we enlisted, we swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah. And this president is a domestic enemy of this Constitution. Yeah. We swore an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to our nation's democratic system of government. We're governed by a rule of law, and this president is abusing his power. The president and member of Congress all swore a similar oath to ours. The bottom line is the president broke that oath, and it's up to our members of Congress and our senators to uphold theirs. This oath has no expiration date, and that's why veterans like myself, who served in Iraq 10 years ago, feel like we have no choice but to speak out now against this traitor president. It is because of that oath that every member of Congress must take the historic step of voting to impeach this president today. The impeachment inquiry has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the president is guilty of abusing the power of his office for his own political gain. He has openly admitted to abusing his power of office in an attempt to rig the next election. He has openly said he would do it again unless he is stopped, and that's where Congress must step up. The Constitution empowers our elected representatives to hold this president accountable. But when Congress tried to do his duty, he defied the rule of law. He refused to comply with the investigation, and in doing so, he spit on everything that veterans like myself hold so dear and which we fought for. Now every member of Congress has a choice. Will you uphold your oath, standing with the veterans who swore to protect and defend the Constitution, or will you choose to stand with the commander-in-chief who has betrayed the American people? Veterans like me believe so strongly in the values of the United States that we are willing to do anything, including give our own lives in defense of this country. Now we are asking our democratically elected representatives to do their part and defend the Constitution and the integrity of our democracy. We upheld our oath. Now it's your turn to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveed, for your words. When we, on our press release, we said that the event was bipartisan, and in the spirit of that, we offer welcome Evan McMullen, president of Stand Up Republic.
Good morning. It's great to see you all here today. It's great to be here with you. I thank you, Reggie. I thank Reggie for that introduction and for all those who took a part in having me here today. We stand here under this December sun, not just as Democrats, not just as Republicans, and not just as independents, but united as Americans. As Americans who seek truth, as Americans who uphold the rule of law, as Americans who defend the Constitution, and as Americans who demand that our leaders are accountable to us and to no one else. Today, our nation is at risk. Our president wants to be a dictator. He wants to break down all the checks on his power. He wants us to give up on truth so that we cannot hold him accountable. He wants us to be so divided that we will not even rise in the defense of our own basic rights. He wants foreign powers to help him steal yet another election. And if we don't stand up now, that is exactly what he'll do. First it was Russia, then Ukraine, now China too. He cares more about getting the illegal support of foreign powers than he does about winning the support of Americans across the country. And if he succeeds, liberty and justice across this land will perish. So the stakes for our democracy could not be higher. The facts are clear. The president abused his immense power to pressure a foreign country to attack his political rival. He then abused his power again to cover up that crime and to block the investigation of Congress. That is illegal. And this is a criminal presidency. We and our representatives in Congress must act, which is why we're here today. It's about time for the facts to matter. It's about time for us, the American people, to say enough with Trump's dangerous abuses of power and corruption. It's about time for Congress to defend the Constitution. It's about time for President Donald Trump to be impeached and removed. And it's about time for America to get back to building a more perfect union with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Another round of applause for Evan, please. Would like to welcome to the stage another veteran's voice, William Goodwin, Director of Government Relations for Vote Vets.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We feeling a little patriotic today? Yeah. That's good. My name is Will Goodwin. I'm a U.S. Army veteran and the Director of Government Relations for Vote Vets, which is the nation's first and largest progressive veterans and military families organization, representing more than 700,000 members across all 50 states. Members who, like us, come from all walks of life. They are men and women, black and white, wealthy, poor, gay, straight, from big cities and the smallest towns. But they share an experience as veterans and military families that cuts across so many of those differences. You see, since the earliest days of our republic, young men and women have stood up to defend the United States of America. From every zip code across every branch of the U.S. military, spanning those who stormed the beaches at Normandy, to the jungles of Vietnam and the mountains of Afghanistan, they share a common bond, and it starts with an oath. For 230 years, since 1789, that oath has been to the Constitution. To support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And you know, it's a promise that separates our military from so many around the world, because it is not an oath to a king or a queen. It's not an oath to a prime minister or even to a president. It's an oath to the document that defines our promise to one another as Americans. Today, the House of Representatives will vote to impeach a president. Today, the House will vote to impeach the president. There we go. The Commander-in-Chief of America's Armed Forces for abusing his office, for taking the awesome powers vested in him by the Constitution and abusing them for his own political gain in a corrupt scheme that has endangered our national security. But I want you to think about this. 1 week from this morning's impeachment vote, on Christmas morning, thousands of America's men and women in uniform will not be at home with their families. They will be deployed in faraway and dangerous places, performing dangerous missions, sacrificing this time with their loved ones, and risking their own lives to defend the United States and to uphold the oath that they took to the Constitution. It is a promise that they believe is worth fighting for, and it's a promise that they believe is worth everything they have. It's a promise that we here today also believe is worth fighting for. And I'll tell you what, if we keep organizing and talking to our neighbors and taking action and talking about our democracy, and we hold this line at this moment in our history, then we can restore a government that is worthy of all Americans. And we can restore a government that is worthy of the service and sacrifice of America's men and women in uniform, past, present, and future, and that is worth fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Welcoming next to the stage, one of our strongest partners in the impeachment coalition, Sean Eldridge, founder and president of Stand Up America.
Good morning. As Reggie said, my name is Sean Eldridge, and I'm the founder and president of Stand Up America. I am proud to represent today our community of more than 2 million Americans across the country who are resisting Trump's corruption and fighting to protect our democracy. Today's vote is historic proof that grassroots activism matters and it works. In the face of Trump's criminal abuse of power, Americans rose up and organized and demanded accountability. Stand Up America members drove nearly 200,000 phone calls to Congress demanding impeachment. Thank you. We showed up at hundreds of town halls across the country. And last night, we took to the streets from sea to shining sea to state loudly and clearly with one voice that nobody is above the law in the United States of America. Nobody. Thanks to that activism, the House of Representatives will act today to hold a lawless president accountable. But I know that some Americans might be wondering, what does all of this have to do with them? Why should they care about a call transcript or Ukraine or military aid? And the answer is because Trump's abuse of power impacts all of us. Trump used our tax dollars to demand foreign interference in our election. He undermined our national security and our democracy, all to benefit himself. Let's be clear. If any other American did what Trump did, they would be in jail, period. And that's what this fundamentally comes down to. No one is above the law, not even the president. If Trump isn't stopped now, he will continue to undermine our democracy. He will continue to obstruct Congress and abuse his power for personal gain. He will continue to solicit foreign interference in our elections. And so today, I urge every Republican in the Senate and the House to step back for 1 minute from the partisanship, just 1 minute. Reflect on the oath of office that you took to defend our Constitution. Reflect on what kind of country you want to leave your kids and your grandkids, because nothing less than our democracy is at stake right now. Today's vote is one of the most important civics lessons of our lifetime. We are teaching our kids and our grandkids and future generations what conduct is acceptable from the highest office in the land. And we are teaching them how we respond as a nation when we are faced with a lawless president. And so, to every member of Congress, for our kids and our grandkids, it's time to stand up. Stand up to the criminal in the White House. Stand up for our Constitution. Stand up for our democracy. Our children are watching. Voters are watching. History is watching. Do the right thing and impeach and remove this criminal president. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for the admonition to stand up. Welcoming next to the stage, someone I know well, my boss, Rana Eptig, the executive director of MoveOn.
Good morning. Good morning. Last night, we saw hundreds of thousands of patriots turnout in over 600 places in this country, from small towns to big cities, from rural towns to urban cities, from Republicans to independents to Democrats, for people who just don't even know what they are. But you know what they are? They are Americans, and they're patriots, and they believe in the Constitution and this democracy. So I am incredibly honored to stand with all of you here today, with veterans, with Republicans, with liberal activists, with folks that weren't activists before, but now are. But make no mistake about it, I am not happy to be here. It's actually quite a day for America. It's a somber day in the sense that we have a president, through his actions, through his abuse of office, abuse of power, has forced us to take no other recourse but to impeach. We don't want to impeach a president in the United States. We have no other choice. We have to draw a line in the sand. We have to say, you cannot cross this. The American people won't stand for it. So while I am sad to be here, I am also hopeful, because the U.S. House behind us today is going to do the right thing, and they will impeach this president, despite the political smearing that they will take, the political risk that they are taking. They are tapping into the courage of their convictions and doing the right thing for all of us and for this country. So this is a historic day, and when they vote to impeach, that in itself is a win for democracy. The president this nation has ever had, and only 2 others have ever been impeached. No president has ever been impeached for this: seeking foreign interference in our elections, bribing a foreign government to get dirt on his political opponent for his own personal gain, folks. Not for the country, for his own personal gain. Using his own personal lawyer. Then covering it up and obstructing Congress's investigation at every turn. This is as serious as it gets. Any one of those things would be enough to remove a president from office, and the people understand this. We love our country. We love the United States. We intend to protect and defend it and do everything in our power to do so. That is why we saw hundreds of thousands of people out last night, in the freezing cold, in snowstorms, also in sunny Florida, but it was incredibly inspiring to see people show up. And a majority of the public wants Trump to be impeached and removed. And a parade of House members will do the right thing today. And where are the Republicans in office? We have retired Republicans doing the right thing, speaking out. We do. There's a lot of retired Republicans that are no longer in office that are doing the right thing and speaking out. But no one elected in the Congress. We don't even recognize who the Republican Party is anymore. Many Republicans in this country don't recognize their own party. They're wondering what happened. They've lost their way, and they've chosen party over country. And they're not only enablers and encouragers to this illegal activity, at this point they're accomplices. And Republicans have no defense. They argue process, they spout conspiracy theories, they lie, but they have no defense for Trump when it comes to the facts, to the substance of his betrayal. And I'm under no illusion that Republicans in Congress are going to find an ounce of courage to stand up to Trump, but I sure hope I'm wrong. And if they do, we need to celebrate that. So we're watching today, and we're watching as we look ahead to the trial in the Senate. We cannot let accomplices to the crime determine the verdict for the criminal. In no other courtroom in America would it be okay for the jurors to conspire with the defendant. It would be a mistrial. We can't let that happen here. We demand a fair trial for the United States of America. So I am grateful for the leadership in the House today, and will continue to put pressure on the Senate as we move forward into the trial in 2020, because no one, not even the president, is above the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Rana, for your powerful words. I'd like to welcome next to the stage a key partner in our coalition, Rob Weisman, President of Public Citizen.
It is a somber day today, but that does not mean that we can't join together and raise our voices. In fact, it means that we have to come together and raise our voices. Nobody is above the law. 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 If we don't have the rule of law, it means the strong can trample the weak. It means the rich can steal from the poor. It means majorities can trample on the rights and lives and dignity and well-being of ethnic minorities or immigrants or people of color. If we don't have the rule of law, it means the president can use his office to benefit himself personally for his own profit and the profit of his family. If we don't have the rule of law, it means the president may feel free to violate the most fundamental constitutional norms and exclude immigrants illegally, unjustly, and unconstitutionally from our country. If we don't have the rule of law, it means the president is free not to take care to enforce the laws of the nation, to permit a climate catastrophe to race forward to us. If we do not have the rule of law, it means powerful corporations are free to pollute, to cheat, to make people sick. We must have the rule of law. Now, prosecutors reasonably have discretion about what they prosecute. They don't have to go after every offense, and they shouldn't. But if you're the Congress of the United States, you don't have any choice right now. Not every impeachable offense requires impeachment. But if you have the President of the United States using his official office to advance his own personal interests, to pressure foreign countries, to intervene in our elections, then you have no choice but to impeach the President of the United States and remove him from office. You can't rely on the normal mechanisms of accountability. You can't rely on elections because the president has told you he aims to rig the next election. You have no choice but to impeach and remove the President of the United States.
Impeach! Remove! Impeach! Remove! Impeach!
Remove! Impeach!
Remove!
Impeach!
Remove!
Impeach!
Remove!
Impeach!
Remove! Impeach! Remove!
It is somber. It is sad. It's really quite horrible. Talk to your children about this. This is not what you want to be explaining about our country. So it's a totally sad and dire time. But I think also we can simultaneously hold two thoughts together. It's also a hopeful time. There's no joy in impeaching the president, but I'll tell you what, there is joy in seeing hundreds of thousands of people come out to defend our country. There is joy and pride in seeing people say, nobody is above the law. There is joy and pride in seeing people saying, it is our country and we will stand up and defend it. There is joy and pride in seeing hundreds of thousands of people, some in the sun, Rana, but a lot in really crummy weather last night, turn out and say, no way are we letting this happen to our country. No way are we letting you wear us down. No way are we going to get tired of fighting you. No way. We are not going to stop. We are not going to stop until you are impeached and removed. There is joy and pride in coming together with hundreds of thousands of our fellow country people to say, nobody is above the law. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So before, this is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. One more. This is what democracy looks like. And scene. Thanks. So before we continue, we're in the home stretch. 3 more speakers. Hooray! We want to give a hat tip to the coalition. So for those of you who don't know what 600 plus events looks like across the nation, there we go. So our whole Impeach and Remove coalition had these events last night all across the nation, and we're the capstone here today. Here, I think, is Portland, Maine. So shout out to Maine. They had a lot of snow up there, so shout out to Maine. And we'll save the best for last, quote unquote. This is Lexington, Kentucky. So come this way. Shift. Right? Better? Keep going. Come closer. And good? Right.
Yeah.
So Kentucky, Maine, United States of America, we're watching and we're with you. So thank you all. Would like to welcome to the stage, as my friends leave the stage. Thank you all. That was totally impromptu, so appreciate that. One of our key partners in the coalition is the NAACP, so it's my honor to welcome Jamal Watkins, Vice President of Civic Engagement for NAACP.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to say that again. Good morning. Good morning. Not because this is a good situation to be in, but because the people of this country, hardworking Americans, have said enough is enough. Yeah! 600 events around the country, hundreds of thousands of brave men and women have said, we collectively will not stand for anyone, whether they're elected to the highest office in this land or they're the dog catcher in our local community, to promote corruption, division, and hate in this country. Yeah! My name is Jamal Watkins, and I proudly serve as the Vice President of Civic Engagement, representing the NAACP. More than 2.4 million members, advocates, and activists, all volunteers across this country, and on military bases in countries like Japan, Korea, and Germany. This summer we voted, because we are nonpartisan, but we're not blind, to impeach the President of the United States of America. You realize that when we saw after 2016, the election that for many of us was a disappointment, that immigrant communities were being criminalized, that children were being put into cages, that folks were being divided. Instead of putting Americans back to work, instead of uniting us, focusing in on infrastructure, climate change, our leader decided that he would use his platform in order to support his own identity, his own agenda. And so when we think about where we are in this country, we know that no foreign government should be allowed to interfere with our elections. Too many men and women have fought and died in order to have the right to vote, in order to have their ballots counted, in order to make sure that they are able to participate fully in this election process. And so when we think about what will happen today on this historic moment, members of the U.S. House of Representatives will vote. And hopefully they will vote the right way in order to impeach the sitting president of the United States for his corruption activities. But we also know that there's another group of folks who aren't quite there with us. They represent the U.S. House of Senate. The senators in this land have to make sure that they follow suit and follow through with impeachment. You see, when we think about what's wrong in this country, it's not that the folks who are doing evil are going to destroy us. It's the folks who sit idly by and allow for them to do this evil that will bring us down. So at the end of the day, we know that impeachment is not the only solution. In November, there's an election, everyone. We know that if you go and you turn out and you vote your values, that this country can turn a corner. Because at the end of the day, when we vote, we win. When we fight, we win. And as you all have said, nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. Thank you, and keep fighting forward.
Thank you, Brother Jamal.
Impeach Trump!
I agree with that. So 2 housekeeping announcements, one from the Capitol Police. So for those of you who are on the sidewalk, please come closer. We're not permitted for the sidewalk, we're permitted for the grass. So we need to honor the permit, so come closer. And secondly, resident yoga analogy. Did y'all see that bald eagle fly over us? So I believe in omens, and so if a bald eagle flies over you and you're supporting the Constitution, I'm into that. Namaste. Welcoming next to the stage from Common Cause, President Karen Hobart Flynn.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see everybody here today. It is such an important day, and I am proud to represent the over 1 million members of Common Cause and activists in 30 state offices across the country and in every congressional district. For 50 years, we've been fighting to protect our democracy and uphold the rule of law. I've worked with Common Cause myself, a nonpartisan organization, for 30 years. And I'm here to tell you that calling for President Trump's impeachment and removal is not an act of partisanship. It's an act of patriotism. Those who are silent and complicit are partisan. Those who rig our democracy and break our laws are partisan. Those who lie about the facts are partisan. Those who obstruct the impeachment investigation are partisan. And those members of Congress who vote against the articles of impeachment today are cynically partisan. And they have joined this president in lying to the American people about the evidence before them. But millions of Americans can see through those lies. Last night, you heard about tens of thousands of people across America who took to the streets and attended rallies and with the same message that no one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. Those rallies are what democracy looks like. We saw everyday people come out in the rain and the cold and in the snow to support upholding the rule of law and holding power accountable by impeaching a lawless president. I am proud of Common Cause leaders and activists who join their allies and many of you to attend these rallies and events. We know President Trump's abuse of power and wrongdoing doesn't stop Ukraine he's stonewalling Congress. He's been breaking the law since he started his campaign. He invited foreign interference in our elections. He pocketed bribes from foreign governments. He abused his power, interfering with the Russian investigation. He's violated multiple campaign finance laws and said he would do it again. He has failed his oath of office by refusing to safeguard our elections. He's espoused and normalized hatred, racism, and xenophobia. Let me be clear, if Congress does not impeach and remove Trump, it shows him and every elected official that comes afterwards that there is no consequence for breaking our laws. Time and again, Trump has put himself above the law. Even as we speak, Trump is undermining the 2020 election. He continues to invite foreign interference. Every member of Congress today, everyone in that House, has to put country over party and vote yes for impeachment. To our elected officials, including our Republican members of Congress, we know a vote for impeachment takes courage. We know you will face Trump's wrath. But you were elected to make courageous decisions. You swore an oath, not to Trump, but to our Constitution, and we, the people, expect you to keep that oath. Our nation's darkest moments have also been followed by its greatest triumphs. After Watergate, the American people responded with a new wave of civic engagement, holding politicians accountable and passing reforms that gave people power in their democracy. I believe that we face a similar moment today. We will not stop holding members of Congress and others accountable, and together we need to bring power back to the people. Yeah! We must protect our elections. We must protect our democracy. We must defend our Constitution. And we must impeach and remove Donald Trump from office. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Impeach and remove! Impeach and remove! Impeach and remove!
Two more.
Impeach and remove!
One more.
Impeach and remove!
And scene. Thank you. That y'all can't count? I mean, come on now. Two more speakers. We want to offer a national security lens on what impeachment means, so we want Kelly Magsman from Center for American Progress to come.
Good morning. Good morning. It's very strange to be here today. I come to this as a former national security official that has served in national security positions in both Republican and Democratic administrations. I've worked for 4 national security advisors, 2 presidents, 2 secretaries of defense, and a secretary of state of various parties. I'm here to tell you why the president's misconduct is a threat to our national security and our democracy. The bottom line is that the president used the power of his office to advance his own personal political interests at the expense of the interests of the American people. He sought once again to involve a foreign government in our elections, a role that only the American people should play. And this time he did it from the Oval Office. Any national security person will tell you how profoundly damaging the president's actions are. This is a line that no president, elected official, or career civil servant should cross. And this behavior cannot be normalized. This is why you see so many Democrats and Republicans who have served in positions of national security coming out in favor of impeachment, because we know how high the stakes are for our country. And I will tell you one other thing. It is not a tough call. As a national security person, I believe in the unique greatness of America and I have seen firsthand what happens when countries are governed only by men and not by laws. And women. Democracy is not inevitable. We do not want to become Russia. We do not want to become China. We are America, where rules and laws are supposed to matter and be applied equally. Where elections are decided only by the American people. And a place where we hold all our leaders accountable to basic laws, including the President of the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. And before welcoming our last speaker to the stage, all of y'all did this work to bring signs here, and no one, for people pretend like they don't exist. So I'm going to shout out a few of my favorites, so raise them high. Wow. I didn't know y'all had that many. So, shout out to We the People in the middle. I ain't done yet, all right? Please allow the facts to do the talking, Senator Lindsey Graham, circa 1998. Country before party, impeach and remove, I see you. Restore America's honor, impeach and remove, I see you. Trump is not above the law, impeach and remove. Just give all of yourself a round of applause for your creativity. Trump is lawless, shout out to that. No kings, stop thief. To bring us home, I'd like to welcome my brother Diallo Brooks and his son Marvin. Diallo is the Senior Director of Outreach and Public Engagement at People for the American Way. Diallo, come bring us home.
My son didn't know I was going to do this to him. Once again, my name is Diallo Brooks. I am the Senior Director of Outreach and Public Engagement for People for the American Way. This is a somber moment. This is a moment that we take seriously. We're not out here because we just want to show up and rally, because we have nothing better to do in the middle of the week. But we take the responsibility seriously, to make sure our government works. Whatever happens in there, this is what's important. During a somber occasion, I am always proud to be with friends and family. Beautiful folks like you all that care about this country. I'm here today to fight because my son just turned 18 at the beginning of this year. He's home from college, and when I asked him to get up this morning, I was like, yo, I'm about to do this rally, you know, it's a chance for you to actually come, participate. And he was like, cool, I'm about it, because he's a political science major in school. I didn't have to fight with him to get up because he knew it was important, because it's about his future. It's about the children that are standing back over there, their future. We fight for them. This is about the people. The people have stood up. The people believe in democracy and will do whatever it takes to make sure that we stand for the principles of democracy. We will not lay down. We will not go hide in a corner. We don't care how hollow these buildings are, they belong to us. This country belongs to the people. The people will exercise their voice every single day, in the snow, in the cold, in the rain, in sunny Florida. Because we are the true patriots. Patriotism isn't following behind a president that is corrupt. Patriotism isn't cowering because they're scared of what this president will say. Patriotism is doing the hard stuff. We are asking our Congress to do the hard stuff. We don't want to impeach a president. We don't come out here to impeach a president just because. But when a president thinks that he is above the law, we have to correct him. We expect our elected officials to correct him. We expect our elected officials to stand up, not just do what's easy. We don't elect anybody to come in here to just do the easy stuff, to name a street, to name some airports. We don't do that with our elected officials. We want our elected officials to do the hard work. Sometimes the work that might make you lose an election because you're going to do what's right. We stand united. We stand in power to let those folks behind us, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whoever they are, that the people expect this democracy to work. And we will be out here every day. We have been and we will be. We fight for our children. They deserve a country that works for them. They deserve it. And we will fight every single day. And I want to take a special shout out for Reggie, my man Reggie sitting over there, because pulling people together to stand up is an important fight. And it's hard work. And my brother Reggie here, along with all of us as partners, help pull everybody together so make sure that we are in the same voice, to give people the space to exercise their voices. You all are exercising your voices to create change, to fight for a better country, to move us to the future in ways that we all, no matter where we come from or what we look like, can be proud of our country, can be together, united for the best of us, not Trump, which is the worst of us. Thank you.
Diallo Brooks, ladies and gentlemen. Right.
Hey, can you hear me?
Impeach and remove. Impeach and remove. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. And scene. You're learning. Thank you. We've kept you long enough, so in my closing remarks, I'll keep them brief. But I'd like to leave you with this thought. You know, last week a dear friend of mine and I were talking about impeachment, and you know, for those of you who know me, it's been a wild year. Not this far away from here. I stood next to Rashida Tlaib when she and I broke the internet on January 3rd, and now the articles are in the House. So it's been a ride. And we were talking about impeachment. She's like, yeah, it's all good that Trump will be impeached in the House, but who knows what McConnell will do in the Senate? And I'm like, no. This is not a time for cynics. This is a time for civics. Let me say that again. This is not a time for cynics. This is a time for civics. This is civics. People coming together. People petitioning their government for a redress of grievances. Shout out to the Constitution. If you don't know someone that you stand next to, introduce yourself at the end of this program, because we may have come here as strangers, but we want to leave here as friends. Yeah. We will leave here as friends, committed to standing up for our democracy. So call your congressman. Yeah. If they are for impeachment, thank them. Yes. If they are not for impeachment, ask them what's their problem. Right. And in the Senate, I know, well, look, you can still protest. You're here now, right? Right. Every little bit matters. So we don't know what's going to happen next in the Senate, but here's what I do know. It's that in that uncertainty where our greatest potential lies. So we shouldn't be afraid of that uncertainty. We should lean into it. And with our new friends, we lean into that uncertainty together, and we will stand strong for our Constitution. So, blessing and best wishes to all. May we stand up for our beliefs, our values, and stand up for our democracy. Thank you for coming. Power to the people. That's it.